And other news, Cuba has restored power nationwide following a major blackout that affected 7 of the island's 15 provinces a day earlier. The crisis has intensified amid critically low fuel supplies on the island of nearly 10 million people, which Cuba says has been under a U.S. energy blockade since January. However, the United States says that decades of poor management are to blame. Relations between the two countries remain tense. President Donald Trump has imposed fresh sanctions on Cuba and has also spoken about the possibility of taking over the island. Even so, diplomatic contacts are continuing. A high-level U.S. delegation visited Havana on April 10th in the first landing of a U.S. government aircraft in Cuba since 2016. On Thursday, CIA Director John Ratcliffe held talks with senior Cuban officials in Havana with the Cuban government, describing the meeting as an effort to ease tensions. In a related development, the Trump administration is reportedly preparing criminal charges against former Cuban President Raul Castro over the 1996 downing of 2 aircraft flown by Miami-based exile group Brothers to the Rescue. 4 people were killed in the incident, and Cuba said that the planes had entered its airspace, while the United States maintained that they were over international waters, a position later backed by the International Civil Aviation Organization. Meanwhile, Santiago de Cuba was plunged on May 14th into the latest outage affecting the whole country. With power returning to some areas later in the day, frustration is also growing over Cuba's new variable fuel pricing system, introduced to reflect the rising cost of importing petrol and diesel.
I'm looking for information at Cupet, but they haven't given me any information. Nothing has come out. So I also have a little boy who's a bit sick, and I'm looking for gasoline. We'll just have to wait for news from the government to tell us what they're finally going to do, whether it's over the counter or by ration card. We're desperate.
During a virtual United Nations briefing, UN and World Health Organization officials, they warned that deteriorating conditions are severely affecting Cuba's healthcare system. Listen to this.
The human cost, as outlined, is already significant and continues to grow. More than 100,000 patients, including over 11,000 children, are waiting for surgeries that have been delayed due to power outages or supply shortages. Around 5 million people are living with chronic conditions and are currently at risk of interrupting life-sustaining treatments, including 16,000 patients requiring radiotherapy and more than 12,000 patients currently undergoing chemotherapy.
Some gas stations in Havana remain empty and unoccupied as Cuba begins implementing variable pricing for fuel sold in foreign currency. This measure is aimed at addressing rising import costs. Prices at service stations may now fluctuate based on factors such as suppliers, freight, supply routes, insurance, and global market volatility.
Undoubtedly, this is a step forward to achieve that. Whoever has the means, the currency, dollars, acquires it. Fuel until the economy manages to stabilize one way or another, and there is more to offer in this case to the people.